Another welcome to every other person listening to us. This is time to really talk politics. Of course, my name is CI0, and of course, I will be delving into politics and of course, every single thing that has to do with Nigerian politics. Today, I wouldn't be doing this alone. It's a beautiful morning, Monday morning. Happy New Week, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, let's really get into some of the things that is happening. Just like I said, my name is CI0, and we wish to start from federal government borrowing. Yes, the federal government has been said to borrow up to 25 trillion naira in the month of March 2023. Of course, this is coming in as a lot of things are being under review, especially as it affects the last administration and of course this particular present administration. This present administration is gearing towards borrowing a lot of money to just make sure that things work the way it ought to be. Now, let me give you my own personal opinion. I feel it is not wrong for an economy to borrow. The problem here is, what do you use the borrowed funds for, and how do you gain interest to be able to pay back? Because every money borrowed has to be paid with interest, and what is being done to make sure that those money yield interest well enough to serve other things moving forward. Now, this is something, a part of the things we're definitely going to be looking at. Again, my name is CI0, and of course I wouldn't be doing this alone because I've got, yes, a gentleman with me in the building. Good morning to you, Uche, and of course good morning to you, Raymond.
My brother, good morning, Nigerians.
Yeah, like say they really verse you this morning, so you use all the verse enter, make you for show Nigerians within this political sector they do for Nigeria, abi? You don't agree, you talk. Hello, good morning to you, Raymond.
Yeah, good morning to you, CI0. Good morning to everyone out there. It's time for us to talk politics and get to break down certain things. I like the fact that you said it's not wrong for any nation to borrow, but what do you do with it? That is what matters. You can't, and we mentioned this several times, you can't borrow to pay off, salaries, and you can't borrow to buy some things that you are needed. You're supposed to be able to borrow, invest, and see to it that money that is being borrowed would yield something in the future. That is the way to go. But here in Nigeria, we don't have plans for that. We just borrow and then use it to pay off, offset some bills that we are owing right here, and then still go on to borrow more. So right here in Nigeria, you just borrow and inshallah. That's what we do.
Moving forward, the federal government asked the National Assembly, comprising of the Senate and of course the House of Representatives, for a loan, approval of a loan of 500 million. This is part of that particular one that will be going straight up for the palliatives, according to the President of the Federation, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has written to the House of Representatives. That was last week. Now, Labour experts has been able to fault Tinubu's 8,000 naira transfer to poor families. Do you think this thing is political or a good thing moving forward? Because how in the world do you generate the data to be able to know which family is poor in this country? Yes, generally we understand that an average Nigerian lives below $1, which is very, very bad, but how do you really get into that particular one to know that this family is poor or this family is really, average to a very large extent? Do you think this particular 8,000 thing is political, or do you think it is something good and it would actually reach out to the poor masses, as the president has equally said?
One thing is sincerity of purpose. The 8,000 naira is a mega money for an average Nigerian. Okay. But what's the intention of the loan, stated by the president when he sent it to the National Assembly, was to reach the poorest of the poor, the families who live below average and who find it very difficult to feed for themselves and find something meaningful to eat at the end of the day. Just like we're in the morning, there are persons who don't have 100 naira in the pocket, who don't have 500 naira in the pocket, and also there are people who don't know where their next meal will come for the day or tomorrow. These are Nigerians we should also cater for, because this fuel subsidy removal affected businesses, it affected the cost of production, it affected cost of transportation. So just like NLC is agitating for an increase. There are also Nigerians who are not civil servants who necessarily do menial jobs. There are those who fend for themselves. There are, sometimes you might be walking on the street, you see some Nigerians who are begging. For this part of Nigeria, there are also Nigerians who are in internally displaced camps, like in Benue State, in Taraba, in some places. So these are Nigerians who the federal government aims to give this kind of money, not just necessarily persons like me or you who can be able to afford to eat or recharge our phone daily with 2,000 or 1,000 or 500, as the case may be.
You sure?
Are you sure? That's the question I wanted to ask. Are you sure? Because
for you to be online, to call into your program to make calls, at least you have to do 500 at least in a week. Well, so 500 by 4 is 2,000. So if you are able to part with 2,000, yes, that's why we have to be adjusting ourselves. There are Nigerians who can't afford that 500.
Now, you've been able to mention a lot of the displaced persons in Nigeria right now. You do not have the data, do you? And then, if moving forward, the federal government, where and how do they get the data? Personally, when you go to rural towns, rural areas in, let's use Anambra for an example, some rural areas in Anambra State right here, most of those in the community who live below an average, below $1, let's use that as an example, do not have a bank account. How do you tend to transfer money to those who do not have bank accounts? How do you even get to know them in the first place? How do you get to the local government? And then how do you even know who is the chancellor in charge of a certain ward, to be able to get to the grassroots? Because it's very difficult. We were talking about sharing food the other time outside this particular space, and then we got to understand that it will come from the federal. The Buhari administration shared food to every school, public school in Nigeria, without an exception. Now, your money comes to the federal, shares, and then everybody go collect their alawi, and then it gets down to the state. The state will continue from where the federal stopped, and then it will get to the local government before it gets to the contractor, of which when it gets to the contractor brings out a certain food flask and shares to a school with over 300 students. It's very ridiculous. So how do you get the data? Is it political? Do you think this is political?
It shows that this is not even going to be quite feasible, because for it to be feasible, like you mentioned, you have to have the data of the people you're going to be giving this money to. Now, in a society where some of those people who are living below the $1, like you mentioned, don't have account numbers or bank accounts, how do you get the money to them? Which means everything that we've been saying right here will just be for nothing. It will still be the same way it has always been, because the money would have to be shared. Because I'm going to use the one I know for sure, which is what happened during the COVID-19 period. Money was given out. The government, we can't say the government did not give out money. Money was given out to the government, by the government actually, to give to the people who were at home. But it got to, the states. The states took their parts and then got to the local government office. I know for certain, I know somebody who was in the local government office at that time who was telling us how the money went. That it was brought to them, and then when they shared it, they now said, okay, they're going to give out 1,000 naira each to every single person, and that 1,000 naira still did not get to everybody, because it got to a certain point, people who were in charge took the remaining money. Out of everything that was brought, they brought out 1 million and said that 1 million was going to go down to, let's say, Onitsha North, and then everybody will get 1,000 naira. Now, for people who have been at home, who have not been going out to do their businesses, what exactly was 1,000 naira going to do for that person? So that is what we find ourselves suffering here in the country. So when it comes to this one, I'm not going to be surprised if the same thing repeats itself. 8,000 naira is supposed to get to those people, but how are you going to know who needs that 8,000 naira? So it's still going to boil down to the same tactics being deployed, except if the government will come up with a better strategy, which I don't see them doing right about now. So it's still going to be the same way. 8,000 naira being sent down, and they're probably, by the time it gets to the person, maybe 500 naira or 1,000 naira will be getting to the person. And so it does not help to actually elevate the issue, or to cut down on the issues that people are going to be suffering because of the effect of the fuel subsidy removal. So it's still not going to cut it. So if that is the case, why even go ahead to give that 8,000 naira in the first place? Why not use that money to do something that will make it easier and make life easier for the people in the country? I think that's the best way to go about it, rather than giving out all these palliatives, because it is still not going to get to the people. So what's the point of doing it in the first place?
Moving forward, let's head on to 042, that is Enugu State, of course, where we have the likes of Frank Nweke, who was the candidate of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, of that concluded governorship election, which took place this year. Now, after the election, a lot of the aggrieved candidates went to court, which is, about one of those things that is very, very normal in everyday politics, of course, in Nigeria and elsewhere in the world. Now, let's look at his, coming to withdraw his case against the sitting government, because Nweke Jr., who, just like I said, was the candidate of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, came out through his lawyer to say that he has, withdrawn his case as the petition filed against him at the governorship election tribunal, and then he came third at the March 18th governorship election in the tribunal. And then, of course, he is saying that he cannot continue with this. Do you think this is an advantage for the sitting government as it stands right now? Because if Nweke is, withdrawing from this, possibly the other aggrieved candidates would follow suit. Do you think that is possible, and do you think there is a way forward for Mba's major victory? Because the more they withdraw, the more Mba stands firm in government.
It is the prerogative of the candidate and the party to withdraw any suit at any moment. Just yesterday, I read this news about Frank Nweke Jr. Pulling out of the tribunal case. I tried to get in touch with his chief of staff last night, but I couldn't get him before coming to this studio. So to get a brighter analysis why he opted out. Worst election.
But INEC in any court case maintained their stance about a free and fair election. It is being rumored that the Labour Party candidate is equally, trying to withdraw his own case, but it's still a rumor until rectified on that particular one. But I think this is coming where I feel Frank Nweke, from my own point of view anyway, I feel this is coming where Frank really knows that moving forward is a lot of money.
Maybe probably he wants to yes, ahead of the next 4 years.
Okay.
For me as a member of APGA, he was the best person to govern that state.
With his portfolio.
Yes, I've been Minister for Intergovernmental Affairs.
Yes.
Yes. If you read his resume, you know that the guy is sound. The three major candidates in that election, the PDP guy, the Labour Party guy, and Frank Nweke Jr.
have all been
since 1999. They have been in the services of Enugu State. Frank Nweke Jr. happened to be chief of staff to former governor Namani, who nominated him as a minister. So when you look around these things, maybe he wants to focus on more other things and get himself prepared for 2027 for Enugu State, in order not to distract the governor. But that shouldn't take away the fact that there were a lot of irregularities. Some of us saw that day. We have evidences what happened in Enugu State through our interactions with our candidates in that state. We saw the videos from House of Assembly candidates in Enugu State. In one of the polling units, we saw what happened. They virtually chased everybody out of that polling unit. So until I get a clearer picture from the party and the candidates, this is just my personal opinion.
They've already said it there. They were not able to gather enough evidence, and instead of going into something would be a futile endeavor, it's better for them to just pull back. But that being said as well, you could also look at it from a different aspect. Maybe they've been able to sit down with the governor and then decide, okay, see, yes, we know that it panned out this way. I have won, you guys have lost. Let's see how we can come together to work to the betterment of the entire state. And I think that is what might have happened. But like he said, until we have a clearer understanding of what's happened, we cannot really speak about it. But all we know that is that he's pulling out of it. And I think it is for the betterment of the entire state. Let the governor focus on working, and probably he himself as well too might be consulted in certain areas to come in and give his own expertise as well, to see to it that the state moves forward. That is what it should be. I think in as much as there were a lot of irregularities that happened during the election, you cannot deny the fact that where there's an election and then you have different candidates coming for one position is because they feel they have something that they can offer to make the state better. Now, one person has emerged victorious. I don't really see a need, except if you have concrete evidence to prove that you won. I don't really see the need for you to continue going to court. Let's support this person, see him do well in the next 4 years, and then after that period, if I still feel that maybe he has not really done well in some aspects, I can still come in again and then go for that position and see if I'll be able to win. I think that's the way it's supposed to be. All hands right about now should be on deck in seeing to it that they push Enugu State forward and get it to where it's supposed to be. And it starts with pulling out of that court issues right there, and then supporting the government, and then you on your own part as well too, when called upon, getting to also give your own take and see to it that the state moves on forward.
A certain Islamic scholar, Gumi, actually made an assertion. He said the new government has been probing a lot of persons, especially since they came into power, but they failed to add the ministers, the former ministers, to the list of those who should be probed. I feel this is something very deep and should be something we really look into, because yes, one way he is correct. The other way, it is something very, very important to really look at. We have a lot of ministers that should be called upon to ask what happened during this, what happened, give us an account.
If you're going to probe people, he as well should be probed.
Oh wow. Okay.
Thank you very much. Sheikh Gumi has been one controversial cleric in Nigeria. Yes, we know how he spoke about telling the federal government to negotiate with bandits and to pay them money. How do they get to give cash in dollars to bandits
and
to buy arms for ransom?
The middleman going to talk to them. So he as well should be proved.
But on the other hand, we shouldn't downplay what he said. We had ministers that had questionable things they did in office under the ex-president, President Buhari. For example, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, the one that shared cash to Nigerians.
Yeah.
We had the likes of aviation minister that repented or rebranded Ethiopian Airlines. We also have the likes of what's it called? The man from Delta State, the son, the Minister of State for Labour. Festus Keyamo. These are persons that ordinarily the government should look into that. After this EFCC man and the CBN governor, they should move.
They should spread.
Yes, they should invite this guy.